Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Get rid of that. Hello, team. Hello, crew. Good to see you on this morning. Running a little bit late, but, there you go. Better late than never, they say. Morning, Kevin. Jatinda. Good morning, Mick. How are you, mate? Great to see you. Chris is there as well. Got Luke. Yeah. It's freezing. It's cold. Alison, Brendan, and Jeff. Morning, everyone. I hope you're all well, wherever you are. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Lee, all the way from Tassie. Yeah, it'd be bloody cold down there, mate. Joyce. There you go. A little bit nippy up here in Queensland, but nothing like down there, I'm sure. We'll do the quick intros and warm-ups while things are getting going. Thanks for joining. Jason Witten's my name. If you didn't already know, it says it on the screen just so I can have a reminder. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for coming along. This thing's called Wealth Coffee Chats. We do it every day, every weekday, mostly anyway. Talking about a bit of the rubbish out there in the marketplace and trying to make sense of it. So, thanks for joining. If you're new, let me know. Say a bit of a hello. Rose, you there? Yes, there you go. Oh, Jeff. Jeff, you're on it. You're all over it already, Jeff. I might as well hang up the boots then, I think. But Jeff's on it already. But there you go. There's a little tip. If you read the headline of today, which two states have had a budget surplus this year of many billions of dollars? And what does that mean to us? And is there anything in there, right, that might give us a little bit of insight, to how we might invest or things that we might do. So I think that would be worth having a bit of a conversation about today. So let's get into it. What, as property investors, does that mean? Billions and billions of surplus. Does it mean at some point in the future they're going to have a net debt? We'll talk about that in a minute. And some side effects of some of these states, positive and negative, of having debts and what they can mean locally for us and ownership of real estate in those spaces, right? So let's talk about that today. That's what I thought we'd have a bit of a yarn about. Billions of dollars of surplus. Will that assist us in the world of property investing? Well, let's have a look at what Sam commonly calls the main drivers of our marketplace, the big kahunas, the big things that drive our market along when it comes to, we talked about it yesterday, the three the three phases or the three pieces of capital growth. There's deal growth, there's location growth, and there's market growth, right? Market movers, the ones that move the dial the most when it comes to the world of property investing, folks. Tell me in the chat if you know, if you want to get involved this morning. What are the big market drivers? Most of you should know this if you've been hanging around long enough. What are the drivers that drive things along? And, where does this have a bit of a look at? Where does this have a bit of a look at what's going on with these surpluses? Anyway, there you go. Morning, David. David's onto a population for sure. So let's have a look at these market drivers, right? So big ones in here. So we have, let's call it interest rates. Interest rates, we've got population, we've got supply and demand. Supply and demand. We've got infrastructure spending. Yeah, population, infrastructure, employment, economics, employment, and politics. Crazy stuff, right? Population, locations, jobs, interest rates, infrastructure. Yep. The economy, employment / economy. I call that one economy. So these big drivers, interest rates. And right now, you guys know we've talked about this, ad nauseum, population up, supply and demand. Well, supply down, demand up, infrastructure spending up, politics, crazy all the time, mad. But, employment up or employment low, the economics, we've got an issue with inflation and we've got an issue with interest rates, right? That we're trying to get under control, right? What can happen? What's driving here? So let's have a bit of a look at these two states already. We've had the best guess there of the two states that have got a bit of a interesting surplus when it comes to the world of budgets at this moment in time. So the surplus of free cash. Now, we all know that accountants and the treasurers can, jiggery-pokery this stuff, but let's just look at this. Queensland's up, folks, and WA is up, and the rest of them are down. I don't know what happened to SA here. It looks like it fell off or New South Wales fell off the chart here today. But anyway, that's the chart I found this morning in the Fin Review. But, what brought these big things? And that's mining, all right? Mining. And I talked about that the other night at mentoring about the big driver, the massive drivers behind the last 10 years of Australia's wealth. Not 10 years, 30 years, actually. One of them was mining. And it's going to continue. It's going to change forms. Yeah, I agree with a few of your comments. The way they're going about it is pretty stupid. But anyway, politicians, huh? Anyway, we certainly need to clean up our act when it comes to looking after the planet. That is for sure. There's no argument there. I think just got to be done smartly. Unfortunately, people in charge aren't that smart sometimes. So we've got mining producing a significant boom in budget and money and cash. How does that play out in the world of property investing? Interesting, good stories. Hey, tell me, in financial year 23 or 2023, which state, folks, if we go up here and we have a look at our drivers, right? If we have a look at our drivers, the economy, let's say in QLD, this is localized economies, by the way, folks, isn't it? This is localized, when it comes to state economies, in good shape. We're in a budget surplus. The population, supply and demand, infrastructure. Let's have a look at this. Let's take a look at if there's a combination. There's a combination of these things going on for people. All right, or for property investors anyway. Anyway, employment WA. Let's look at this. And I've probably already given it away, but we've got mining. That's bringing in some bucks for Western Australia and Queensland. What's going on with the population, folks? What's the net population inflows? What's the two places in Australia that have had positive internal migration? Now, it's probably a dead giveaway about who I'm talking about today. But anyway, see if you can guess in the chat. Which states have had population increases and which ones have had population decreases, net internal, in the country? What do you reckon? Put that in the chat. So, well, decreases, yep, and increases. Well, look at this. Queensland, population increase, folks. Western Australia, population increase. Interesting, hey? So we've got a net budget balance, a net population increase and balance, which is pretty good. Victoria and New South Wales, unfortunately, lost a few people. Interesting, Western Australia in the lockdown, right? Just said no one's coming in and no one's getting out. So that was interesting. But so we've got winners per se, if you want to call them that, when it comes to this thing. What does that mean? What does that do? How's that playing out in our housing, in the world of housing? Well, I wonder if there's any correlation. I wonder if there's any opportunity to look here and sort of analyze the market and see, if Queensland and Western Australia are getting, a little bit of love here when it comes to population. Remember our drivers: population winning, economy winning. Let's look at infrastructure spending. Let's have a look at that. Let's see if there's any, correlation here. Now, I think I might have talked about this one the other day. We'll make this a little bit bigger. Let's have a look at the winners when it comes to infrastructure spending here, and the number one winner, folks, is Victoria. Now, you would expect the dollars and cents per population for infrastructure spending to correlate with New South Wales and Victoria. That makes a lot of sense. And then, from a percentage point of view, you're looking over here. Western Australia and Queensland are still behind the eight ball when it comes to government spending. But if you go and have a look at the local budgets, right, the Queensland budget and the Western Australian budget themselves, so even though they're kind of seventh and eighth, they're still getting, $14 or $15 billion from the government, Western Australia, $37 billion from the government, Queensland, to, get ready for the Olympics and those sorts of things, which makes sense. So again, if we go back to our little idea of how are we winning here? Infrastructure, tick and tick. So, really nice dollars and cents coming along. Happy days. Weren't first, but not going backwards. That's good news. That's great news. And if we go and have a look at, Queensland's budget, I think it was down here. Where was it? Anyway, the budget, a record $89 billion 4-year capital program. All right. So Queensland's doing a record, folks, of spending in capital around the country, and another provision of $1.9 billion leading up to the 2032 Olympic Games and Paralympic Games. So, looking good. You can go find the Western Australian budget. You can see they're putting in, train lines. There wasn't a snapshot on this one, unfortunately, but they're spending a lot of dough. Where was the thing here? Anyway, might have been at the top, but you can see, they're throwing down the cash when it comes to their budget as well. So, locally, if they've got some, where was it at the top here? They've got a $3.3 billion operating surplus. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is, folks, what's going on is the idea that, there's something to look at and think about, when it comes to population, infrastructure, economy, some ticks in the boxes there for those three states. Doesn't mean the other states haven't got their mojo on too in different ways, folks, just so you know. But, what I'm trying to look at today is there any correlation? Is there any interesting things we can gather from looking at these ones in isolation compared to good old Victoria, the old budget, the debt is pretty nasty at the moment. Now, it doesn't mean the other states haven't got debts either. So let's have a look at that just quickly. I'll actually do this here. Like Queensland, if you have a look at Queensland, it's got a surplus now, but it is predicting to have a negative into the future. Why is that? Because, I don't know, that's how they run, unfortunately, sometimes. But the interesting one, folks, when you have a look at some of this data, is check out the unemployment rate and the inflation forecasts for Queensland. All right. So these are the forecasts from the government. So they're saying, this is interesting. I wonder if they know something we don't, folks. I wonder if they know something we know. They're saying, hey, inflation is going to be down. Their projections. Now, I don't know. What do you reckon, folks? You reckon they know something we don't, or they're just having a wild-ass guess, a wag at it? Anyway, so inflation down at, 3.75 by financial year 24. What does that mean for interest rates, by the way? Put that in the chat for me. So if inflation's down, if it goes down, what does that mean for interest rates, folks? Yeah, a wild-ass guess. Yeah, I reckon you're right, Alison. A bit of a wag. What does that mean for interest rates? Interesting. Well, if they have anything, they know what they're talking about, which is probably not anyway. I'm just pontificating here. Then interest rates down. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. But what's going on with our property market? Let's drill into great for rates. Exactly, David. Let's drill into our capital cities and have a bit of a look at some of these things when it comes to the average house price in Australia. So, folks, have a bit of a look at this. This is the average house price across our capital cities, and I think I talked about this the other day, the difference between the average and the median and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's have a look at March 23. Check out a couple of these things. Check out Perth. Check out the median house price in Perth, right? Less expensive than Hobart. Go figure. Mind-blowing, folks. Mind-blowing. Oh, gee. Adelaide's more expensive than Perth. Go figure that. But if you have a look at, the two places that we were talking about and the populations, so we're talking about Brizzy and Perth, is there room to move? Is there upside in those things? Well, lots of infrastructure, lots of population, lots of employment, lots of population, lots of infrastructure, lots of employment. And, supply and demand issues are, a bit of an issue. So is there room to move? For sure. My call would be in these ones right now, we're talking, the predominant opportunity in places like Brisbane are houses. Houses are great, well-priced in Brizzy, and same with Perth, right? And right now we're talking about apartments are really well-priced in Melbourne. And you're going to start to see, actually, Sydney, Western Sydney and those places actually see some really well-priced apartments as well. But anyway, what's the point of this whole thing? Is there opportunity here, folks? And the answer is, yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. There's opportunity to think about where's economic prosperity, where governments, got money to spend, and what's the downside? Yeah, folks, what's the downside of, let's say, some of the states maybe having, higher or less budget surplus and having more debt? What do they do? And there's an example going on right now in one of the states doing that. All right. So tell me in the chat, What do they do? What do the politicians go ahead and do? And if you have a look at places, again, here it's cheaper to rent in Perth and Adelaide than and Brisbane, funnily enough. Then you got Melbourne and Hobart. So, is there room to move? Yep, there is. There's room to move when it comes to the economics of owning real estate and also the rentals across those bits. Anyway, there you go. What does a government, what does a state do when they end up with a net debt like this, folks? What do? Now, it doesn't mean that it's a terrible place to invest, because there's opportunities. What happens is the uneducated run away and leave a excellent buying opportunity for others. Yep, they put taxes up. So the Victorians have put the land tax up. Now, it's not the end of the world, by the way. It's another flat $650 fee. That's not the end of the world. However, that's what they do. Cheeky buggers. So that's something, and really that's something that for all of us is why we diversify, right? Diversify. Why not own in QLD, New South Wales, Vic, and then if you want a fourth diversification location, then Western Australia makes sense, right? That's the way. Yep. I think it is the end of Dan. Hopefully, the Victorians voted him in again. Oh, gee, I don't know what's going on. Suckers for punishment. Anyway, the point is, folks. The point is today's conversation. Is there opportunity in those markets when it comes to real estate and housing? The answer is yes. They're in good shape. Queensland, is getting lots of attention. Population, infrastructure spending. Where's the value? What's the opportunity there? It's huge. It's huge, folks. It's the number one eastern states destination for those things. So, get a piece of Queensland every day of the week. House and land is good value up there at the moment. And then, Western Australia, what's it got going on? Well, again, jobs, it becomes, it's linked to being quite a large mining town. But, it's one of those diversification plays when it comes to your investment portfolio. Is it worth it? Maybe it is. Maybe chat to your coach, maybe chat to your investment team and see if that could be on the menu for you. Anyway, there you go. That's it from me this morning. I did have a question there. There was a question in here. Brandon, with limitation of rental increases. Good question. From what I understand, you can, if you offer those terms, you can increase the rent every 6 months. Now, what I'll do, Brendan, here's what I'll do. I'll get our main expert on one of the coffee chats in the morning, Cass, and I'll find out for you. And we'll do it across the country, actually. That's a good one. I'll do a rents update in the next Wealth Coffee chat, folks. There you go, Brendan. That's what I'm going to do for you. All right, folks, that's it from me today. Thanks for joining. We've gone a bit over time, but there you go. Sometimes I rabbit on. That's it from me. You guys take care. Thanks for joining. Tomorrow, I won't be around. On Friday, I will be, though. So let's dial in and maybe I'll get someone else to run it tomorrow. That's what I'll do. All right, folks, take care. You guys be good. Bye for now.